Hello, everyone, and welcome to the November Tech Talk. My name is Brendan Hahn. I'm Senior Product Marketing Manager here at NowSecure, and I will be your host today. I am joined by Jonathan Seals, who is a mobile app security analyst here at NowSecure, to talk about growing downloads and user trust with an ADA MASA validation. A few very quick housekeeping items before we start. We will have Q&A at the end of the Tech Talk today, so please feel free to ask any questions you have with the Q&A Zoom feature. We will also have chat enabled during today's session, so if you have questions, you can throw them there as well. A recording of this session will be sent to you via email if you had registered for this session, and it will be available on NowSecure Academy as well. You can sign up for a NowSecure Academy account totally for free. And finally, we host these Tech Talks monthly. So be sure to check out our replays from this year so far and join us in December, where we will be joined by Steve Marriott, a senior pen tester, to discuss third-party privacy. With that, Jonathan, over to you.
Good morning, everyone. As he said, my name is Jonathan Seals, and I'll kind of be leading this. I'm a mobile application security analyst with NowSecure. Been here for exactly 2 years at this point, and it's been a good time. With that, a little bit about my background. Started in the Marine Corps, where I was fixing and flying on helicopters, and it's where it kind of got my attention to detail mindset, which is kind of where I stand with the MASA assessments. We do these assessments to provide trust and security for our users and clients who use these. Don't know if anyone's ever flown on a military helicopter, but you are trusting 18-year-olds who've probably never touched a wrench before in their life to fix this helicopter that you're about to fly on. And similar in nature, we are building apps and putting out apps to our clients that we want them to trust. But how do we do that? In the Marine Corps, we did it based off qualifications and just experience and pounding away at the security and how important the details were of the job. We do the same thing here at NowSecure and with the App Defense Alliance. So this being said, I'm going to continue into the presentation, kind of start hitting on some of the big market details that we were trying to get across today. So trust and privacy, like I said, these are the big things that people are talking about, and our consumers want to know. Some statistics out there right now, 92% of users say companies need to be more proactive about data protection and privacy. This is huge. I mean, how often do we see it on the news that, hey, some big company just had a big vulnerability and they lost thousands of users' data? This is destroying our business when we start dealing with online banking or app banking. We are asking people to trust these apps and these websites to hold their valuable information, but we're not doing the right things to protect them. Tech Republic says 85% of mobile apps violate security standards. Honestly, that's not okay. We sit here and we have these guides and these standards to adhere to, like the mobile application verification standards assessments and MASA, but we're not doing it. And that's just wrong on us as companies who are putting out apps, and we're trying to adhere to these standards to our customers. Because at the end of the day, if we fail to protect our customers, we lose their trust, and then we're going to lose the business. So this is what's important right now. The challenges that we face as developers, I know you guys want to be security, like just work on your coding, get the app out, meet deadlines, everything. But we also need to do it with a security mindset. In 2022, the ISC Cybersecurity Workforce Study says there's 3.4 4 million jobs unfulfilled across various cybersecurity disciplines. I get it. I know what this means. It means harsher deadlines, more work put on everybody. It means that you're having to do multiple people's job at this point because these jobs are unfulfilled. Instead of just developing, you're now the security specialist. You're having tighter deadlines, everything. It makes everyone's job harder with this many unfulfilled jobs. We have all these guidelines and executive orders coming out, and these are stuff that we need to know. The executive order 14028 says focus on improving the cybersecurity of all apps. Includes requirement for developing a cloud security strategy. NIST, most people know NIST. It's a popularly used one. New security measures to establish and maintain software inventory, and it's expanded IoT security requirements to include cloud and mobile components. That's what we're hitting on today, the mobile components, the applications, the security of apps that people are requiring and trusting of us to put their PII in. So with all these regulations coming out, how do we know what to do? How do we adhere to these regulations? Where do I look? Where do I even start? And this is why OWASP put out the Mobile Application Security MAS project. The OWASP Mobile Application Security Verification Standard, the MASVS, is a guideline. And here at NowSecure, we are God spokesman people for this MAS project. We believe in it so strongly that we put everything we do behind this. All of our standards that we follow by, everything, because we strongly believe in the OWASP MASVS standard project. So here's our cookbook of how to develop an app that is meeting all the guidelines. The MASVS puts out all these work task force that we need to adhere to: storage, crypto, auth, network, platform, code, and resilience. Resilience being my least favorite because it makes my job harder. If your app is resilient in following all these standards, it'd make my job 10 times harder to try to find a vulnerability to tell you why or what you need to fix. And if I can't, I'm out of job. So resilience is my least favorite one of all these, because honestly, I like my job and I like to keep it. So, but it is important to make sure our users feel safe and are trusting us with their information. So what is the App Defense Alliance? As you guys can read, it was launched in 2019 to make the Google Play Store safer. Initial focus was anti-malware. That was the initial focus. It went on the cloud. We're not really talking about cloud right now. Our big talk is right now MASA, the Mobile Application Security Assessment. And it's being pushed out to make the Play Store and all the Android users safer when they're downloading apps. And just recently, the ADA falls under the Linux Foundation, which is part of the Joint Defense Foundation, or Joint Development Foundation. My apologies. And it is now being steered by Google, Meta, and Microsoft to push these standards out to everybody and make sure that the Play Store is a safe place for our customers and clients. Now, quick thing, yes, I know ADA, App Defense Alliance, also the American Disability Association, not to be confused, it's the App Defense Alliance. So how does the ADA work? It leverages off OWASP MASVS for the MASA. As you can see, all the different standards that it kind of go to, we only work off the level 1 standards. So take one for instance, crypto. The crypto 1 app does not rely on symmetric cryptography with hard-coded keys. These are level 1 requirements. Any app should be able to adhere to level 1 requirements. It's negligence if we don't. As you can see, the framework for OWASP MASVS 1.4 is a level 1 requirement, but I was just speaking to. There should be pushing out more about what's changing soon, and we'll be able to see these requirements kind of go more into detail and be more in depth as it continues on. So why should I do the MASA and work with the App Defense Alliance? Well, one thing is, if you do a MASA assessment and you pass by using one of the secured labs, which NowSecure is, on your data sheet, you would get a star on everything you have saying your app's been independently reviewed by a security lab. It's good for 1 year. And there's actually a lot of talk right now moving this to the top to kind of show our clients and customers that you've gone the extra mile. As of right now, this is not a requirement. It's not something you're required to do, but eventually coming down the pipeline, Google's going to start offering incentives, say, hey, priority listing, your app will be the first one to pop up on the Play Store. Or depending on the category or type of app you are, say banking, VPN, healthcare apps, don't know for sure, but something that deals with more of our customers and clients' PII, they may start enforcing and MASA requirements to be on the Play Store. So instead of putting all the work into your app and just saying, forget about this, we don't need it, get ahead of everybody else, get ahead of the competition, and start these validations so that you get the incentives, so that you get the independent security review to have your customers and clients have faith in your work. And it also keeps from you running into blockers, because down the pipeline, it takes about 48 hours to do an assessment for a MASA testing. But we run our assessments, we kick back. You have to do your remediation to bring it back, to pass the things that we say failed. Then we have to fix you in with all the other companies that are coming to get their test. And it's about a 4-month process between the start of test to validation if your app needs remediation. So it's something to keep in mind, that it's better to get ahead of other business competitors by doing it now and not waiting till later. So just throwing out a few people who've already adopted the MASA. As you can see, Uber, TikTok, Chrome, just a bunch of big company apps, as you can see. If you want, you can use the link and kind of see the published directory of who's already in the validation process. MASAs are gaining visibility, and it is getting pushed out there. I know not many people know about it, but we are trying to push this information out to everybody so that you aren't running into blockers and you aren't running into these issues when they finally start implementing everything. As you can see, Android Police, the Play Store will also ask if developers have gone the extra mile with a verification of standardized security practices. This is just reinforcing the need to show our clients and customers that we're doing anything and everything in our powers to make sure that their information is secure. Data safety declarations. I know most of us, we know what we put in our apps and what we develop, but we also know that we're using SDKs. And if you don't know the ins and the outs of the SDKs, these things and what they're bringing to your apps, these are what's causing a lot of issues with testing, is when developers aren't sure what the SDKs bring to the table. But as you can see, when you disclose your data safety declarations, you need to know any data you pull, third parties pull, or anything that they transfer from one app to another app, or from your servers to another servers. These are questions that you'll be asked when you do your data safety declaration. Cryptography. Everyone hates it. Everyone dislikes it. No one enjoys it. It's one of our highest issues when it comes to MASA testing. But here we'll provide an OWASP cryptographic cheat sheet so that you can take the information and have something to go off as you work and develop your apps. All right, so I'm going to take a step back and kind of change directions of how we're taking this presentation. I've thrown a lot of information at you about the MASA and why you should do it and what's coming. But now we're going to take a step and kind of look at some of the common issues that we kind of are having when we're doing these assessments. So as I go through them, like Brendan said, we'll have some Q&A at the end. Just keep your questions and we'll kind of cover them all as we go. Just be mindful of what you see and take note of any issues. So in the previous slide, for MASVS Crypto 1, the app employs current strong cryptography and uses it according to industry best practices. It's covering the different CBCs, GCM modes, and everything that are initialization vectors are required. We have a lot of tools that we'll implement to see what kind of cryptography you're using, FRIDA most of all, and we'll backtrace your cryptography to see what's going on and if you're using hard-coded keys or not. Crypto 2, the app performs key management according to industry best practices. Here are some reverse engineering tools that can retrieve hard-coded secrets. Pretty easy if you start using them. And this shows how easy it is to use FRIDA to backtrace and SDK risk. As I was talking about before, 85% of apps we have tested failed their first validation assessments due to vulnerabilities introduced by integrated SDKs. We must know what we're putting in our apps. It's not enough to know what you developed, but we must know what we're putting into the apps. You can scan the QR code and it will take you to NowSecure SDK pen testing services, which we are pushing out to test SDKs and kind of showing you what they're going to add to your apps. We can talk more about it later, but we need to know when you're using these SDK libraries, are they up to date? What are they vulnerable to? Did you go check to see if these SDKs have any CVEs that they're vulnerable to? Because you're accountable when you implement them into your applications. The next step for SDKs. SDK developers are registering their indexes with Google so that we can have the most common SDKs commercially used to help our developers know which ones to go with and know if an SDK is outdated, if it has vulnerabilities, and it just will push forward our developers with developing these apps. It'll also help when you go and you do your data safety declaration so that you can see, the index will see what SDKs you have, and it will auto implement what kind of information that SDK is pulling to make sure that you're putting the best information forward when you do your declaration. Code quality. Just make sure you're taking out the debugging symbols, the verbose logging, and knowing what SDKs you're introducing. Because 80% of apps we have tested failed their first validation assessment because they did not prepare their code properly for release. Some more resources that we at NowSecure would like to put out to you. We do these monthly tech talks, like this one today, but there's also been ones in the past about, say, how to build a simple mobile app with GitHub Copilot using AI. We also offer free academy training, free Android development, secure coding training to develop with a security mindset. And the last one, NowSecure Security SDK. You can sign up here to get access to the alpha and beta, and we'll be able to talk more about it here in a few minutes. And that's everything I have. Do we have any questions?
Awesome. Yeah, we can jump into Q&A. At this point, folks, remember, if you have any questions, feel free to throw them in the Q&A box or in chat. We'll get to them either way. The first one that I have for you here is, how often do I need to get an ADA MASA validation? How long are they good for? Jonathan, I think you said they last a year. Sorry?
They are good for a year. One thing to remember, now, if you go sit here and you get a MASA validation that's good for a year, but then you throw out 20 new updates afterwards. Right now, Google isn't saying, hey, after every update, you need a new MASA validation, but it's going to think that you don't want to be the reason the policy is written that, hey, after every update, like, you have to get a new MASA validation just because you try to use a loophole and put out 5 different new iterations after the MASA validation.
Makes sense. Along the same lines, the next question was, how soon will this be required?
So, as we know, with everything that comes about policy, nothing's fast about policy and implementation of policy. So it's hard to say. It could be a year, 2 years, could be 6 months. Google usually puts out a bunch of information when they post their blog about it. So the last one they posted, they said more information was going to be coming about the MASA validations. So just be mindful of it and kind of keep eyes on it. Or NowSecure puts information out pretty regularly about the MASA validation once they put out their blog. So you can follow NowSecure on LinkedIn, and that's one way to get it, or following Google blogs.
Awesome. And then the last one here so far, unless anyone has any other questions to throw into chat or Q&A, is this already live for the VPN in Play Store? I think this is when we were talking about the independent security review badge showing up in the search results. Is that already live?
Yes, the getting the badge once you do the assessment is already live. They are talking about moving it to the top because right now it's at the bottom of the declaration. So if you go through a MASA assessment, you will have a badge on your data safety sheet saying that you've fulfilled the requirement for an independent security review.
Awesome. And that's for any app, not just VPN apps, right?
That's for any app, doesn't matter what it is. It could be a game app, it could be a banking app. If you go through the MASA validation, you will have a badge saying your app's been independently reviewed.
Awesome. Cool. So that's it for Q&A. Jonathan, I wanted to thank you so much for joining us today. This was super insightful, really helpful to hear all about ADA MASA and to see a little bit of OWASP. It was a really great talk. Folks, as we said at the top, a recording of this session will be sent to you via email and is available on NowSecure Academy. And please be sure to join us next month, where we'll talk a little bit more about privacy. Thanks so much, everyone.